The phone vibrates on the concrete. Once, twice. You keep walking. Cars rush past. People move around you. The world doesn't stop, but something else does. Not her feelings, her control. And in that moment, the moment you don't turn back, something shifts inside her that she wasn't prepared for. Let me explain why. You think the moment she realizes she's losing you is when you disappear, when you go quiet, when you walk away. That's not it. The real moment happens before that. It happens when she notices something subtle, unsettling. You're still there, but you're no longer reachable. Your replies are shorter. Your explanations are gone. Your emotional reactions missing. You're not angry. You're not pleading. You're not cold either. You're unmoved. And that's when confusion turns into tension, because unpredictability is dangerous to someone who relies on control. At first, she tells herself it's nothing. You're just busy. You'll come back. You always do. But then, you don't. You stop correcting her assumptions. You stop defending yourself. You stop chasing clarity. And here's the truth most men never realize. That silence doesn't read as strength at first. It reads as a threat. Not to love, to leverage. That's not love. That's control. This isn't random. It's psychology. Control in relationships isn't always loud. It's not always manipulation in the obvious sense. Sometimes it's subtle conditioning. She pulls away. You lean in. She gets distant. You over-explain. She withholds affection. You increase effort. And over time, without realizing it, you teach her something dangerous. Your emotional stability depends on her responses. So when you suddenly stop playing that role, when you remove the emotional feedback loop, her nervous system panics because the system no longer works. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. You used to respond immediately. Now there's a pause. Not a tactic, not a game, just distance. She sends a message that would have triggered anxiety before. This time, nothing. Minutes pass, then hours. She checks her phone again, rereads her message, and that's when the first thought hits. Why isn't this working anymore? Not, does he still love me, but why can't I reach him? That distinction matters. Power isn't about dominance, it's about non-reactivity. And the moment she realizes you're no longer controllable is the moment she realizes she can't predict you. She doesn't know if you're upset. She doesn't know if you're done. She doesn't know if you care less or more. And uncertainty is unbearable to someone who's used to certainty. So she escalates. A random check-in, a nostalgic message, a subtle emotional pull, sometimes even vulnerability. Not because she suddenly changed, but because the old access point is gone. Here's the truth. When control disappears, emotion follows. You might think this is about winning. It's not. This is about self-respect, reclaiming space. You didn't become distant to punish her. You didn't withdraw to provoke a reaction. You simply stopped abandoning yourself. You stopped negotiating your worth. You stopped explaining boundaries to someone who benefited from crossing them. And that's when the dynamic breaks. Watch closely what happens next. She may accuse you of changing, of becoming cold, of not being the same anymore. And she's right, you're not. Because the old version of you was predictable, controllable, emotionally accessible on demand. This version moves differently. And unpredictability, when rooted in self-control, feels like power. Let me be clear, this isn't about disappearing, it's about detachment without bitterness. You're still calm, still respectful, still grounded, but no longer reactive. And that combination is what triggers the realization. The moment she realizes you're no longer controllable is the moment she realizes she no longer has emotional authority over you. That doesn't mean she loses interest immediately. Sometimes it does the opposite, because what can't be controlled suddenly becomes valuable again. But here's the final truth most men miss. The goal was never to make her chase. The real transformation is internal. You no longer need reassurance to feel stable. You no longer fear silence. You no longer perform emotional labor for validation. And whether she returns or not, you've already won, because you're no longer operating from lack. So if you're sitting there wondering why things suddenly feel different, why she's reaching out more carefully, why her tone has shifted, why the dynamic feels reversed, here's the truth. She didn't lose you when you walked away. She lost you when you stopped being controllable. And once that switch flips, there's no going back.